Kia ora folks, my name is Tommy. I'm a therapist, father, musician, medicine person, and this is the fucking Woo Woo podcast. Welcome, this is the 10th episode, depending on whether or not you count that one from 3 months ago, which I'm not sure if I'm going to release. Maybe I'll just look at it and then I can tell you. Anyway, so this is the 10th episode, and I've recorded all 10 episodes in this last week. Sometimes I've recorded several in a day, but I just change my top and do my hair differently. It's really, my hair's always really the same. It's just where this top knot or bun goes to the side, or, whatever. Anyway, what a fucking prestigious start, or prestigious, auspicious start to the episode we're having so far, folks. It's just captivating. This is my A game I bought for the 10th episode, the 10th anniversary. Hey, today I thought I'll fucking tell you the most woo-woo thing I've ever talked about. I thought I'll just let the cat out of the bag. I'll just get honest with you. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you how I conceptualize reality, what I think's going on here in Earth space-time. And I'm nervous about doing that. And I'm nervous about doing that for a couple of reasons. The first is that when people used to say to me, when I first developed a concept of some sort of higher power, and people would say, oh, what do you believe in terms of spirituality? I would say, I would just get nervous. I would just get really fucking nervous. Like, I'd immediately feel like I was being tested and like I was going to fail the fucking test, It was like my concept of God or spirit could fall apart very easily under close scrutiny. And I would immediately feel kind of insecure and unstable trying to explain to someone how I conceptualize spirit. And so there's that archaic fear that somehow, as I'm trying to explain it to someone, they will look at me with increasingly skeptical eyes, and they will discover that I don't know what the fuck is going on or what I'm talking about. So that's part of it. That's an early fear. Now I think I've transcended that fear a long time ago, and to some degree I think I probably have. I think I'm pretty good explaining to people one-on-one how I conceptualize reality and humanity. However, saying it to a potential audience, even though at this point in time I'm really just assuming the audience of this podcast is going to be like the 10 people in my life who like me the most or are the most interested in me who will actually watch this. So I don't think it's really a huge audience that I'm going to be sharing this with. But some part of me, loves to imagine that that people might find this helpful and they might share it with their friends. And if so, that there might be a listenership at some point in time, or a viewership, whatever it's called. And the thing is, people might have been watching these episodes, going along quite happily, going, oh, these are some interesting ideas, or I relate to this, or I like that. And then I will tell you what I mean when I say spirit, or what I mean when I say consciousness. And you will, and someone listening will say, well, that's not what I think. That's not what I think spirit means. That's not what I think God means. That's not what I think's going here on planet Earth. Fuck this shit. I'm not watching your podcast anymore. You don't think the same thing as me. And that people will go, that is too fucking crazy. Like, this guy is mad. His ideas on relationships were useful. I found his de-escalating anxiety technique quite helpful, but he thinks something different to me. So fuck him and fuck all his bullshit. I'm not listening to him anymore. And I have a genuine fear. I have a genuine fear that when I tell you guys what I think's happening here in space-time, you will say to me that I am crazy, and that's not what's happening here in space-time, and therefore everything I say has no credibility anymore, and you'll stop watching the podcast. So it's my humble request, folks, that when I say what I'm going to say for the 10th anniversary of the fucking Woo Woo podcast, and I say the most woo woo fucking thing I've ever said, that you will just have some patience with me. You'll just have some tolerance. You'll have some compassion. That poor Tom hasn't quite worked it all out yet, and he's still stuck in this paradigm, or he's gone off on some fucking rabbit hole, whatever it is. And I disagree with him on that. But I find his approach to human dynamics, or I find his approach to being kind, or I find his approach to speaking to yourself with compassion and love, I find that useful. So I'm going to bear with him. And also, for the 10th anniversary of the podcast, I'm going to instead of singing a what do I do? A freestyle. Instead of doing a freestyle, instead of coming up with something spontaneously, I'm going to play you a song on my medicine drum. It's a medicine song I came up with, and I'm going to play that to you. And if you don't like the medicine song at the start, the first couple minutes, you're like, oh, that's just too medicine-y. Just bear with me, because there's a little twist I put at the end, and I think it's quite fun, and I think it's quite beautiful, and I do this in ceremonies too. So it's not just something for the fans, for my 10 mates, my 10 mate fans. Okay, so I'm going to say this, and I feel a bit embarrassed, but so be it, right? So fucking be it. I believe, personally, that there is, and I just want to say this is not a new belief. There's many people who believe this, but it is a little bit different. It's not the standard New Age woo-woo belief system, though it's very similar to it. I believe there is only one thing, one entity, one being in all of existence. I believe there is only one thing. And some people would call that consciousness. Some people would call it God. Some people would call it spirit. This one thing, I believe, has divided itself into infinite parts, infinite permutations. It has divided itself into humans on planet Earth, and every other creature and animal and mineral on planet Earth, and then, infinite other planets and animals and forms of species, as well as things that don't exist within this particular universe and reality, so parallel universes or other dimensions. I believe that everything, all of it, is just one entity. So in that sense, I don't believe I have a soul and you have a soul. I believe we are soul. I believe there's only one soul. We are the same soul. I believe that when people talk about past lives, that I have conceptualized that differently too. So I don't believe that I had myself 10 or 20 or 1,000 specific unique past lives that belong to me. I believe that I have every single past life, as well as every future life, and as well as every concomitant life. Is concomitant a word? Does that mean at the same time, existing at the same time? I believe every single person living is the same being and have all had the same past lives. So I don't think I specifically have had these 100 past lives that I happen to have gotten memories of in meditation or in moments of profound realization or near-death experiences or on plant medicine. These experiences of past lives that belong to me, I believe they belong to every other person on the planet, and vice versa. The beautiful Sanskrit saying namaste, which I'm bastardizing terribly, probably also in my pronunciation, but as well as when I describe it as the way I've heard it described is the God in me sees the God in you. That's how it's been translated to me many times over the years. But for me, it would be like, you and I are one. The consciousness that I am is the consciousness that you are. Like Ram Dass says, I think I'm in here and you're in there. But we're not. So this is what I believe. There's a brilliant scientist. His last name's Hoffman, and I want to say his first name's Donald. I think his name's Donald Hoffman, and he talks about this from a simulation theory, consciousness, the hard problem of consciousness, quantum physics, and they've got some elegant mathematics and equations and stuff that back it up, as well as all these simulations and stuff. And they talk about how, in terms of the theory, theory of evolution, that in terms of achieving, that if evolution is right, that it makes more sense for creatures navigating this particular planet Earth space-time. They will be more successful if they have less access to reality, if their senses get less of what's really going on here than if their senses get more of what's really going on here. Getting more information of what light and sound and concepts and stuff, all of that just actually serves to make them less successful at evolving. And it's better that their brain act as a reduction valve and reduce their awareness of reality is what makes a more successful creature on planet Earth. So, and he takes those theories and he takes them to some incredible conclusions. And while he doesn't get too woo-woo, because he's a mainstream scientist, and I genuinely mean he's a mainstream scientist, not like the mainstream scientist who then all of a sudden ends up on a documentary called What the Bleep Do We Know, or The Secret, and starts talking about quantum physics in a way that all the other mainstream quantum physicists go, that's not fucking quantum physics. That's just some crazy shit. This guy is mainstream, and as such he's a little bit tight-lipped on some of the potential outcomes, or what, not potential outcomes, but the logical conclusions from the work he's working on. And people like to interview him and push him to say, so are you saying that we are all one consciousness, and that la 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 la, and he I haven't seen the last year of interviews. Anyway, I fucking love this guy. I'll put some links to him in the thing. So this is what I think's going on. This is what I think's happening here. I think that you and I are literally one. I think we are literally the same entity. And so that means that I believe that when we die, we literally let go of this form that we are in now. I don't believe that we have an individual soul that will then go to heaven and maintain memories of this life. I believe we return to source consciousness, that the energy that animates us returns to source consciousness. I imagine source consciousness being infinitely intelligent, retains memories of every single lifetime. And that's why some of us down here on Earth have these memories of past lives, because we are source consciousness. We've just been put into this body, and we have had we've got a brain which limits what we can remember and what we can experience down here, so that we're not completely constantly flooded by the experience of living 10 trillion lifetimes as a mosquito, as well as 10 trillion lifetimes as a sheep and a dinosaur and a human, that we can just kind of like navigate this one reality. Now I'm Tommy for 80 years or whatever it is, and I'm gonna do some shit down here. And I believe, because I'm a fucking optimist, I believe that the purpose of life is to become a more and more efficient vessel for giving and receiving love. So I believe we come into this world within our whakapapa, within our DNA. We come into this world with some challenges, with some things that our family line has carried on with us, and we need to heal those things. We need to repair those things. And so we hopefully navigate space-time here on Earth, changing those patterns and those behaviors, and healing ourselves, and therefore passing on less of those things to the next generation. There's a whole bunch of obvious questions that might come from me saying something like this that you could ask me, and I probably wouldn't have the answers to all of them, or to probably many of them. I'm not a philosopher. I don't spend a huge amount of time thinking about these things, is the truth of it. But I have had other ways of experiencing reality and conceiving reality. I did for a long time conceptualize God as much more like a Judeo-Christian type singular entity. At times I wondered if that entity intervened down here on Earth and would, again, stop it from raining on someone's wedding day, and stopping it from, and make someone have a car crash so that they could learn a valuable lesson. Like, I thought there was this kind of intervening kind of thing going on. Now, I don't believe in divine intervention so much anymore. I don't believe in it at all. I believe there is a tapestry of life taking place, which we are all a part, and there is a perfection to it. When I use the term space-time, why I use that term is because, again, the scientist helped me with this, as much as things that I read in the Vedas, as much as experiences I had of plant medicine. It is, according to this scientist, and he's the main scientist I actually listen to, I've heard other quantum physicists talk about that the idea of time as being a constant is an illusion, that time is not actually what we think it is. And the way I've come to describe that to people who are wanting to talk about this concept with me, one of the ways I've found it useful is imagine that we experience time as though it is chronological, right? Like it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and the years go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the hours go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that we go through time, and that's why when we take photos of us in 1979, we are a newborn baby, and when we take photos of us now, we are 44. However, I believe that is how we experience time due to being in a human body and having a human brain, and that actually time is not like that, and that the way time really works is instead of time being like when you watch a movie on Netflix, when you watch a movie, forget about Netflix, let's say a hard drive. When you watch a movie on your computer or on your phone or whatever the fuck you watch on, and the movie starts and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until the end of the movie, that is because that movie is being played on a media player. So the media player experiences and projects to us that the movie goes in that chronological order. But really the file itself is complete and whole. That movie file, that 2 gigabyte file is just a file. The whole thing is complete all at once. It's just sitting there as a file. It's not going 1, 2, 3, 4. It's all there all at once all the time. And that's what I think is actually happening in reality. I think everything is happening all at once, all the time, always has, always will. There is no future, there is no past, there is just this moment. And there's, again, of course, it's relative. I'm not saying time doesn't exist here on Earth as a human. Clearly it does, and clearly we use it to operate. But there is another way of experiencing reality and conceiving consciousness, experiencing consciousness, which through trance states, I believe we can access. And I believe trance states are incredibly valuable. And I believe, like my favorite podcaster, Josh, who does a podcast called The Emerald, which is my favorite podcast of all time. It is literally the most brilliant, profound, intelligent, fucking inspiring, affirming, consolidating, connecting piece of art I've ever experienced in my life. The Emerald by Josh. In fact, pointing you to The Emerald by Josh is a stupid thing to do, because literally anyone who watches listens to The Emerald by Josh is going to stop watching my shit. They'll be like, I'm going to listen to the smart guy instead of this fucking guy. But I'm willing to take that risk because I do want to steer people to his podcast, man. Incredible. It's funny, actually, there's not often a podcast comes along that changes your whole perception, your perspective on shit. Because I've been studying the world's religions and psychotherapy and psychodynamics and in a very amateur level quantum physics and things like that for all these years. And then he comes up and starts talking about animism, which I had the most basic 101 understanding of prior to his podcast, and I had kind of dismissed as primitive, which is so horrifically racist, though I didn't realize it because I wouldn't consciously be racist. Some people are consciously racist, right? Like they literally are proudly fucking, bigoted, and others are more just this unconscious bias thing. But I've been fucking aware of unconscious bias, and I come from Aotearoa, where we have colonized and indigenous people, so we kind of call out, decol is a name for meaning people who are actively trying to be allies to the indigenous people and work towards, support causes and political movements and law reform and stuff, which decolonizes this country of ours. So these things have been in my mind. So I would never consciously be racist, but somehow, right? Like somehow, there's still last vestiges of ignorance in all of us, and I had conceived of these animist traditions as being primitive. They weren't as advanced as the Vedas from India. They weren't as advanced as Zen and stuff like that from China and stuff. And I don't know how I had managed to miss it, but the Emerald podcast helped me a lot with that. So I'll do a link to the Emerald podcast. Again, I'll lose all my fucking fans after I do that. And this guy, I think it's Donald Hoffman. But now I'm thinking it's not Donald, because Donald's the guy who does those amazing mycelium studies and got all the psychedelic studies kicked off. Well, not the only guy, but one of the main guys. And I don't think they're both called Donald. Roland, that's Roland Griffiths. It is Donald Hoffman. Roland Griffiths did the studies. Donald Hoffman did the whatever kind of scientist he is. But again, he's real mainstream. He's not woo-woo. Okay, so Donald and Roland. Yeah. Rolling with Roland and Doland. Donald and Roland. Wouldn't it be cool if they had a fucking podcast, the two of those guys? That would be amazing. If Roland is still with us. I hope. For a little bit longer. Anyway, so I'm going to do a song to finish it. This is me doing a medicine song, which I wrote. And again, if you don't like it and you're like, why is he playing this fucking medicine song? Please just, you don't have to. But if you listen to the end, you'll see I do something a little different. Now, because I'm going to be with the drum, I need to stand up. So I'm going to move this over here. How does that look? Hopefully that looks all right. Boom, boom, boom. You can see me, I think. Okay, we'll call that the place. Okay, here we go. I know that there is pain, but you hold down for one more day. Break free from the chains. Yeah. I know that there is pain, but you hold on for one more day. Break free from the chains. Yeah. Someday somebody gonna turn around and make you wanna say goodbye. Till then, baby, you're gonna let her hold you down and make you cry. Don't you know, things will change, things will go your way. If you hold on for one more day, things will go your way. Hold on for one more day. I know that there is pain, but you hold on for one more day. Break free from the chains. Yeah, I know that there is pain, but you hold on for one more day. You break free from the chains. Yeah. So someday somebody gonna turn around and make you wanna say goodbye. Until then, baby, you're gonna let her hold you down and make you cry. Don't you know, things will change, things will go your way. If you hold on for one more day, things will go your way. Hold on for one more day. Muchas gracias. You guys like this crazy fucking podcast? Please share with your friends.